Welcome to the Bridge of Two podcast. We have started. We have plunged into the deep end of the Bridge of Two podcast.
We have liftoff.
No, we're plunging into the deep end. We're not lifting off.
Speaking of Bridget, this is already way off the rails, but Steph and I are on our trip driving through the backcountry mountains of North Carolina, and what was it called? There was literally a company called like Two Bridgemen or something like that.
Oh, really?
And Steph was like, "Is that y'all's company?"
That's funny.
I was gonna take a picture, but because of Steph's crazy driving through the mountains, I thought I was gonna throw up.
Okay. Just like hitting those turns really hard, catching.
She was getting way too excited about the turns in the mountain. Anyway, welcome.
Thank you. Or that's not for me. That's for.
It is always for you.
Oh, thank you.
And the listeners. And for myself.
I am a listener.
I am also a listener on
listen.
occasion. Apologies for the clearing of my throat earlier too. I realized I did that right to the microphone.
You did not have to forgive him, people, because that is not good etiquette.
I'm so sorry.
No, I'm gonna probably clear my throat a little bit too. So that was better.
It's the COVIDs. It's the Omicron.
It's the Unicron variant.
Is that what we're
for
on
all
now?
you Transformers fans out there?
Oh. Deep cuts, deep pools. I like it.
So, what you been up to?
Well,
Jeremiah.
I mean, same old, really. My wife and I just went on a week-long trip that had a mishap in the beginning because of a, good old snowstorm. Where we were going, and our Airbnb lady literally was like, "Do not come. The power is out, and you probably cannot make it here anyway." And so on the flight, we had to make a whole new trip. And it turned out good, though. Got a lot of relaxing done. Got some cool hiking done. Steph got slightly irritated with me because I was just like, I like looking at the mountains. I was like, this just makes me want to draw and write fantasy comics. She's like, "Is that all you think about is fantasy?" I was like, "In the mountains, yes." we were driving when I was driving through the mountains. I definitely threw on the Lord of the Rings soundtrack, by the way.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Like
really
any
good.
Specific songs or just the Lord of the Rings?
I just found a playlist of the soundtrack and threw it on. Stephanie was queuing songs that she wanted to listen to, but that were from the soundtrack.
The snow-capped mountains always makes me think of the lighting of the beacons music. That's like that song for that scene. I mean, it's like one of the best scenes in the entire trilogy because of the music in that scene.
Agreed.
I think there's like a meme of it's like, "Hey Howard Shore, the composer, we need just like some chill music. We're gonna have for a lighting beacon scene," and then it shows like some guy composer, and then like his like director stick is like on fire.
So yeah, we did that.
Anyway,
it was definitely enjoyable. It really got me into a good. It got me into a really big drawing mood, and I did so little drawing on the trip. I brought an actual sketchbook to sketch in, and I still did so little drawing. But it was good. I did get some reading done, getting a little bit further in real time. Same
book?
Yeah, the fifth one. Something. It's a long book. I gotta try to finish it before school starts back up. But a lot's happening. Like just so many things happen in the one book. I'm like, this is a 10, 14 book series. Like, my goodness.
Yeah, there's like way more.
And things that are happening now, like I never would have guessed would have happened from book one.
Really?
Like it's just like it's almost like it's almost a different story. It's wild. It's fun. Good book. Highly recommend. 10 out of 10.
Leaves.
Well, 9 of 10.
Why 9 out of 10?
It's long.
1 point knocked off for length.
But the Stormlight doesn't get that because Stormlight needs to be long.
Well, and it's only going to be a 10-book series.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's going to be more words, but
exactly. Steph's pretty far into Skyward. She's actually really enjoying it.
Nice.
She was like, it's a little slow in the beginning. I was like, just continue, keep
probably
going.
Like
and then she hit that
some world building.
She hit that. It was world building. She hit that point. She's like, all right, I'm interested now. She's like, but I'm upset. This is a 4-book series, and because she's like, now I have to. So now I want to know the conclusion. Now I was like, honey, Journey Before Destination.
There you go.
We're not feeling Journey Before Destination on this trip.
We're not feeling it.
No.
You're like Destination.
Like I said, with her taking those wild turns at one point, I was like, oh gosh.
Life before death.
Hmm.
Strength before weakness, Jeremiah.
I overcame it. But other than that, yeah. So that playing some video games, still playing Final Fantasy 12, getting a little bit further in that. Really enjoying it. I don't know why. I like turn-based combat, but I don't know why in that game I really like the combat. And I know a lot of people I don't think a lot of people did, just because it is kind of slower and a little more weird. But it's enjoyable.
Yeah. I like the combat in that too. It was just a cool. It felt like kind of old school Final Fantasy combat, but the graphics are so amazing that, it felt cool. But and at the same time, it wasn't too old school turn-based.
The only thing that sort of throws me off about it is the license boards for the classes. It just gets a little bit too much. Mm-hmm. But I'm still managing, and I'm having a lot of fun. So, played a little bit of Assassin's Creed 3. I bought that on Switch for Steph.
Was it on sale? It was on sale, wasn't it?
A while back it was.
Okay.
When I'm sure it was too this time around too. But
that might be. I like Black Flag a lot too, but that might be my favorite.
I'm actually, as far as ones I've played, I haven't played any of the newer ones. But like as far as like the older ones, I think, and a lot of people disagree, but I think 3 is one of my favorites too. And I specifically because I like the American Revolution. Mm. I like that setting at least.
I love the opening too. I love just starting out in, you're like a young like Native American, and just like the whole using the trees and stuff. Mechanics was really cool.
Well, it's also really cool too because when the game first starts, you're not even playing as him. You're playing as his dad. I'm pretty sure.
And then you're playing as him as a kid.
You do, but the opening, the introduction is you're playing as another man. I'm pretty sure it's the main character's father.
Maybe you're right. And
I'm pretty sure, spoiler warning, possibly because I don't know for certain, but I'm pretty sure he's actually a Templar too. You find out that he's a Templar.
Yeah, that was the twist with that game because in the other two games you're playing as you're part of the Assassin's Guild. That's why it's called Assassin's Creed. But then in the third one, the twist is you're actually kind of working for the Templars.
Well, initially, I don't think the Native American guy is. I think the Native American guy is actually assassin, but the first guy, the father, is a Templar. You think you play as him, you think he's an assassin because he plays like all the other assassins. Uh-huh. But I'm pretty sure you find out at the end of that sequence that he is actually a Templar.
Okay.
But while I was playing, what was really cool is he does all the freeing like the assassins and stuff like that. But what made it, and it was an interesting detail, but you can't free run on all the trees because you don't have the same skills that like the Native Americans do.
Right.
I just thought as I was playing it the other day, I thought that was an interesting little thing.
Oh, I forgot about that. About his dad. Yeah.
I am about to beat Birth by Sleep.
Nice.
I beat all 3 stories, all 3 characters.
And you've beaten it before, right? Mm-mm. Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. There is something at the end of it. I won't spoil it for you, I guess. It's not like a major spoiler, but there's something at the end of it that I never knew, actually. Despite all the stuff I've watched about it, I never knew was part of the lore of the world of a certain place.
Is it about Destiny Islands? Oh, okay.
And you don't find that out until, I'm sure it might have been hints elsewhere, but you don't really find it out until the end of Aqua's story, you had to beat the final boss to find it out.
Oh.
And it has to do with where Ventus is sleeping. Where she puts Ventus to sleep too.
Okay. I need to play that game.
It's fun. It's easy to beat too. But when you beat all 3 and you get, I think when you play on standard mode, if you beat all 3 stories and you get all the Xehanort reports, you unlock the final episode, which is the conclusion to Birth by Sleep. And there's like a secret episode too, but I'll just YouTube it because I don't care about trying to do all that.
2021.
But I did get the final episode, and I went to go try to play it, and it's literally you just go fight Terra Nort as Aqua, and my butt got handed to me like 4 times, and I was like, I can't. I'm tired. I can't. So I will end up beating that whole section as soon as I can. So that's fun. Mm-hmm. Getting further along in my drawing of Juwu, which will be releasing sooner than I think, because Josh pretty much told me that he has a song ready to go whenever I finish.
Nice. Sweet.
So that'll probably be released pretty soon. When he releases it on his, I'll release it on my Instagram.
And is the track going to be called "Shout Out to Juwu"?
I should text him right now. Shout out to Juwu. Other than that, though, I mean, more Critical. I've been listening to a lot of Critical Role.
Just the current campaign.
Yes and no. I'm caught up on the current campaign, and the way they're actually doing it is actually very convenient because I think they do 3 episodes a month. In the last week, they don't do a main campaign episode at least, so that it gives time for people to get caught up.
That's smart.
Which is good because that way I can get caught up.
Because their episodes are pretty long.
They're like 3 to 4 hours.
Yeah. So, wow.
But so I've been going back and listening to. They did like a short campaign right in between campaign 2 and campaign 3 called Tales of Exandria, and it's a whole different DM. Matt Mercer's actually a character in this, like
nice.
a PC, and there's another DM doing it. And it's I'm like 5. I think I'm on the 6th episode now. It's actually really good. It's fun. It's really fun to listen to Matt Mercer as a player. Because he plays a really silly character.
I can see that for sure. I would if it's being like a DM all the time. I guess he does do silly NPCs, but there's a element of you kind of have to stay more on the serious end of it
when you're a DM.
When you're a DM, because you have to do the villains, you have to get the tone of the story and the stakes and all that. So you can't be as like goofy, right? So.
Well, part of why I wanted to listen to it, because I'm still planning on going back and listening to Campaign 1 and Campaign 2. It's going to take me a long time, and I don't plan on rushing it. But the reason I'm listening to Tales of Exandria first is because there's actually 3 characters in Campaign 3 that are in Tales of Exandria.
Okay.
I think they just rolled their characters over to Campaign 3.
So they use the same characters, but their stats, they re-rolled them?
No. I think it's just the same characters.
Oh, okay.
They just moved them over to...
Okay, gotcha.
To that campaign, so that's kind of part of why I wanted to listen to that one, and it is fun. I am excited. My other podcast I listen to, Not Another D&D podcast, they're about to start campaign 3 in February, and they announced that they are going back to their original world, Bohemia, but 200 years in the future. And I really like. Name's Murphy, Brian Murphy is the DM. I like that. I like what he did with the world. And what I really liked about it was he allowed his characters to help build the world. So if you actually listen to the first campaign, a big one is actually his wife, Emily Axford. So he's the DM and she's a player. One of her character basically helped build a whole section of the world that became very important. And he basically did it off of just random crap that she said throughout the initial part of the game. Because she's from this place. She plays like a redneck hick elf that she calls from the crick. Okay. And basically just from random things that she has said, he built the crick that way when they eventually went there and different stuff. He just uses his characters as a way of help his world building, which is a very interesting way to go about it. So it was fun.
That's cool.
So, but I'm really excited for them to go back to there and to see the new different things, because that campaign was really good. Very silly because they're obviously comedians. I mean, most of them worked on College Humor. You ever heard of College Humor?
Yeah.
Most of them worked there or on that. But he's got really good storytelling and very serious storytelling at times. So it's really good. I'm excited for campaign 3.
Cool.
But other than that, I mean, that's pretty much kind of it. Just the other generic video games, playing with my brother. Not really anything in particular, but just playing. But yeah, my main thing right now is I'm really hopping back on this drawing game. I want to finish this drawing and start some new stuff and get some stuff out there for people.
Yeah.
If they want to see it. If not, well, I enjoy doing it.
Give the people what they want, Jeremiah.
More drawings.
More drawings.
Drugs. What drawings?
Oh, drugs. Drugs.
What about you? What you been up to?
Drugs.
This is a very long-winded section, but what were you up to?
Well, on that note of you mentioning playing some games with your brother, Juwu.
Shout out to
Juwu. I already mentioned to you that I got to Coruscant on the Old Republic.
Oh yeah, we need to play that.
So we can actually play some stuff together there now with our characters.
We will. Now that things are slowing down a little bit again as far as the holiday season, I think we should try to.
Yeah, so that'll be fun. I played a lot of Breath of the Wild.
Also, the expansion's coming out in February, so
Right.
it might even be better just wait till the expansion comes out at this point.
Right. But all the work I put in
You're still gonna be there.
for a few days.
It'll still be there.
Okay.
You can still go use that character. Anyway, Breath of the Wild. Are you enjoying it?
Yeah. I am. I think I talked about it last episode. I mean, it's just a lot of fun to explore. Finally got a horse.
Nice.
Or like I figured out how to get a horse
Get a
and
horse.
keep it. Yeah, like so if you get a wild horse and then like ride it to a stable, you can register it for pretty cheap, and then you can pick it up at any stable pretty much throughout the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny actually though. Thankfully I died too, because it went back to my previous save, but I was fighting something and my horse was up on this ridge with me, and I got off the horse and I'm fighting this thing, and then I like jumped or fell or something, and the horse, like, I see the horse like jump over me all of a sudden, probably because it was getting attacked or something by but I just see the horse falling down this chasm next
Amazing.
to me, and I was like, no, my horse just jumped down with me, and then I ran out of stamina, so my cloth or whatever thing fell, and I was low on health, so when I landed I died and stuff. But if I hadn't, then my horse would probably have been dead.
Oh no.
Which, wouldn't have been that big a deal, but
It's a horrible deal.
I named the horse, and I kind of want to keep this horse like throughout the entire game.
Hold up. What'd you name him? Or her?
It's a girl.
Okay. What's her name?
Well, I named it after the ship on the Expanse, the Rocinante. So I named her Rosie.
I like
ROCI.
I like it.
So I'm like, no, Rosie. Don't jump.
Don't go.
So that was a
You
little
have so much to
that was
live
slightly traumatic moment there. But yeah, it's just fun. It's fun to use all the different mechanics, and I don't know. It's fun. I'm having a lot of fun with it. What?
Now that you have a Switch, were you ever a Pokemon fan?
Yeah, I was. I didn't play a lot. I didn't play like every generation. I played the first gen. I played Pokemon Yellow, and beat it. And then I played Pokemon trading card game, and I played Pokemon Snap, and so I played Pokemon games. I was into Pokemon, but I didn't play like all the games.
I mean, I haven't either actually.
But
You thought about getting
I have thought
one
about
of the
it.
newer ones, like Shield, Sword and Shield?
Yeah, I have definitely thought about it.
You can get it. We can trade Pokemon.
Yeah, I'll probably wait till I like beat Breath of the Wild or.
That's the control that I don't have, that I need.
Well, I don't either. I mean, I'm playing Breath of the Wild, and then I bought that game for the computer because I had to get something from the Steam during the Steam winter sale.
Of course.
It's like, which game am I gonna get? Which I got this game called The Outer Wilds. I think I told you about it. Mm-hmm. Did I talk about it in the last episode? I don't think I did.
No, I think you told me about this at a dinner.
Okay, so it's really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very different kind of way to play a game, though. And this isn't really I don't really feel like I need to spoiler tag this because it's the premise of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like the hook of the it's like on the, if you go to read about the game, this is what I'm going to say right away, that you're an alien who
Rude.
lives an actual, I mean, like, I guess to them they're not aliens, but to me they're aliens. But they're
Rude.
digging myself deeper. But they're in the solar system that has like another ancient race of aliens where they've like some of their technology they've discovered, some of the ancient race of aliens their technology helped push their technology forward. But there's a lot of ruins and stuff like that. So basically it's your exploring the solar system.
Mm-hmm.
But what you realize not long into the first time you take off is that there's some cataclysmic event that happens. I think, and it happens. I think like 20 minutes in.
Oh wow.
Every single like session.
Mm-hmm.
The sun of your solar system explodes.
Perfect. Love it when that happens.
So you're like, the first time it happened to me, I didn't even know. I don't think I was even facing the sun. So I was just, all of a sudden, I would just like died. And I'm like, what happened? And then I wake up. You wake up at the beginning where the exact same point you started the game is like around this fire. This alien's like cooking marshmallows next to you. And you're like, wait, what just happened? Did I die? And then you realize, wait, I still have all my
stuff,
all my data from the stuff I have discovered and found. And then your dialogue tree changes a little bit when you talk to people, because you're like telling people, did I die? I think I died, and they're like, are you okay? And then so you try to get a little further, and then eventually you'll be out in space, and the music starts playing. This particular music starts playing when it's about to go, so the sun's about to go supernova, and so you'll be out in space, like about to do your other thing, your next thing, and then you're like, oh crap, and then you look over and the sun goes supernova, and there's no escaping it.
Huh, that's interesting.
And then you're basically just trying to figure out, why is this happening, and how is there any way to stop it? And the further you go, the further you realize, like, this race of aliens, they were like experimenting and doing something, and maybe it has something to do with
always
this.
Experimenting.
So I won't say any more, because the more I discover, the more I'm like, what?
That's cool. That's interesting. I didn't realize it was that much.
It's a very interesting way to like it has a feel. It feels linear in a sense, because like, you have to find the breadcrumbs to put them all together to understand what's happening, but they always lead you somewhere else. Like, just whenever you're like, okay, I don't know where I'm going to go next, and then you read something else, and then it tips you off that you need to go back to this place and look at this thing again. And it's wild.
It's an indie game, right? From an indie developer?
I think so. I think it might have been kickstarted.
Telling you, man, these indie games they're getting big, and they're getting good, because they also are learning to make good games with the limited resources that they have.
Yeah, the graphics are nice, like the art style, but they're not like, it's not like No Man's Sky would say, it's like, it's a bigger game, there's more to do,
graphics are
better, and yet this game, for what it's doing, it just feels really
I'm glad
really
that
cool.
indie developers. I'm glad a lot of indie developers and indie games are being. Recently, there's just been an uptick of appreciation for them.
Yeah. And
it makes me happy, because they do a lot of them do some good work, and it's good to see around and to be able to play and everything like that. And I like me a good AAA game. Don't get me wrong, but like a good indie game, especially something that's like not super crazy or whatever. Like, they're fun.
Yeah, so that's a fun game, kind of relaxing in some ways, because there's not a whole lot of, there's not really any combat. So it's just exploring mystery, trying to crack what's going on with the universe, and it's pretty cool.
Sweet.
So I've been playing that a lot, and started reading. Picked up The Hero of Ages on audiobook.
Just about to ask.
So that I could, because I got these new earbuds that I can wear when I'm doing lots of different stuff. So I've started listening to that again and getting into that. And
very nice.
Really enjoying it, really interested to see where it's all going to go. I just finished a chapter with Marsh.
Nice.
Talking about... I'll keep it spoiler free, but he's just he just kind of made a decision about how he can fight back.
Nice. Yep.
He's having to be very still, if that kind of clues you into where he's at.
Yeah, I think I remember.
Like, just all that kind of, all the stuff that's going on there is just wild and just amazing.
No, it just continues. So. And good Brandon Sanderson fashion, it continues.
So I'm excited for that. I finished Hawkeye.
How was that? I want to watch it.
It was really good. you don't have to see it, but we stopped after a certain episode. I think it was episode 4. After episode 4, we went and watched Black Widow because there's a character from Black Widow that's very big in the back half of the show, and just to kind of, we didn't want to miss any.
Is Black Widow
references.
on Disney Plus?
It is. Yeah,
I'll end up watching it then if it's there.
We watched Black Widow, and it was a fun watch. And is like, I have mixed feelings about it. I definitely think it could have been a lot better.
Steph didn't like it.
She didn't like it. Oh, so you have seen it?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, you have.
I was sick. They went and saw it. Caleb and all them went to go see it.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It was fun watching with Aaron, but it was like, and I'm glad I watched it, for Hawkeye and everything. I like the character. I like her sister. She has kind of a sister in that movie, and I think she's funny. I think she's one of the better characters in that. But yeah, anyway, I won't go into.
I'll end up checking it out. I actually think Steph and I, or at least me, I'm pretty sure Steph wants to too. I think we're actually gonna rewatch all the Marvel movies.
Oh yeah,
which I haven't done. I haven't watched some of them in years because I just dropped off Marvel. Because I just got like a movie a year. It's just like, oh,
you got tired of them, so now you're gonna watch them all.
I did, but now I'm like, but we watched Spider-Man.
Oh, you did?
Way Home. No, not again. But we watched Spider-Man No Way Home. Which got me in the mood for Marvel again. I love Spider-Man anyway, but Marvel again. And then on our trip, we watched Civil War. Or no, The Winter Soldier is what we watched.
Right. Okay, that's one of my favorites.
Well, we were playing Scrabble.
Of all of them.
That one is probably one of my favorite Marvel movies, and so it got me really back in the mood to watch some Marvel stuff. So I think I'm gonna go back. Since it's been so long, it's like I'll go back and do it. We're gonna do it slowly. I'm not gonna blast through it, but I'm gonna start with the Spider-Man movies because technically they do come before Iron
and they're
Man
technically
now. And they're technically
somewhat canon now.
Somewhat canon, and Stephanie needs to watch them anyway. So
okay, so if you're listening to this, I'm gonna say if you don't want spoilers for. Somewhat spoilers for Spider-Man No Way Home. Like if you're someone who is like, I don't know anything about that movie, I don't know anything, somehow you have successfully stayed away from spoilers,
which is literally impossible at this point.
I think it probably is because it's in media now, pictures and stuff like that. But did you hear that? I just heard today that Marvel is planning on continuing, either Marvel or Sony or both are planning on continuing to use Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire.
I hope.
I should have said something.
Not necessarily and I love Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, but I don't necessarily as much in him. But Andrew Garfield, I really want because I feel like he never got a really good conclusion. I feel like Tobey Maguire Spider-Man did in the movies, but Andrew Garfield didn't, and I hope that they do. Yeah, and I know Andrew Garfield would too.
So it seems like it's totally almost confirmed. I mean, things could fall apart between now and then, but I think that the theory is that they're with all this multiverse stuff that's coming is leading towards a comic book storyline called Secret War.
That would be cool. I've actually read that storyline. Okay. For the most part.
And if they do that, it would be good for them to be able to use these other versions of Spider-Man. They could use them in other multiverse stuff that's going on, basically. So yeah, I just watched a theory video, and it was a theory video based on confirmed things from Marvel that they are going to be working Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man into some other stuff.
I really hope so. Because that movie just was so good, and seeing them back in suit again was awesome. And Andrew Garfield is one of those people who... Because I feel like Tobey Maguire gets a lot of recognition now. But I feel like Andrew Garfield never got enough recognition for his role in Spider-Man. Or for him as an actor in general.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was... There was people had mixed feelings about his version of Spider-Man. And about those movies. Ultimately, even though I think they did good at the box office, they just didn't do it good enough. Yeah. For him to get.
And there are some certain different things with.
I'm not saying I didn't like his.
I loved him, but I definitely see the criticisms. Yeah. but more just like I feel like it's the same kind of thing with like maybe to an extent, but maybe not as much. But there's like Anakin and Hayden Christensen.
Right, feeling
Not
a little
enough.
too
Not enough of the
angsty.
recognition of how well they actually played the character
right.
and just them as an actor in general.
Yeah.
And it's nice to see him getting some recognition again because he is. I mean, even his other movies that I've watched, like he's a good actor.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, yeah.
And even watching some scenes, like some people have been pointing out from some scenes from his movies, the Spider-Man movies.
Yeah.
Like his acting is just, even out of Spider-Man, just like certain things that he does is like it's very his own, and it's really good.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. So when I saw it today, I was like, oh, I gotta talk to Jeremiah about that. Yeah. Other than that, okay, we do have to say that the Stormlight Book 5 writing has commenced.
It has.
He has been writing the prologue.
Thank goodness.
For that book, which did you already know? I mean, when I heard it, makes sense. But did you hear the perspective that the prologue is going to be from?
I don't think so.
Gavilar.
Oh, that'll be interesting.
It makes sense for him.
And this is the end of this kind of section.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. I think we're going to learn a lot in this book.
Oh yeah. We have to. We have to. And everyone has to survive.
You're silly.
That's something we're going to need to do this year is some look at theories or look at some stuff for book 5 because there's so many foreshadowing and with like the death rattles and stuff where there's like people saying weird things that are like sort of prophetic that people have looked at about like the Night of Sorrows and the True Desolation being two separate things. True Desolation has happened, but what is the Night of Sorrows? Something about a character that kills a child or something like that, and anyway, yeah, that'll be for another episode. But
maybe we'll have to get a couple more. We'll end up having to bring back the Bridge of Theories and do a couple theories.
Yeah.
Gosh,
Anyway.
I feel like there's something that I saw recently too that I wanted to bring up, but I cannot remember to save my life. I'm sure it'll come to me like 3 years from now. Anyway, well, sweet.
So we are gonna take a break, and we are gonna bring back some mead.
Got some more
to try.
mead. Josh surprised me.
And we got some winter mead to try, and then we're gonna be talking about magic systems in sci-fi and fantasy.
Do it.
So let's do it.
We'll be back.
All right, we're back. Got some more mead from Groenfell. They have a winter mead.
Hold up. Listen to these ingredients.
Okay, tell me.
Water. Perfect. Love water.
First, good start.
Honey. Love me some honey.
Mead.
Cranberry juice.
Ooh.
Blood orange juice, which just sounds super epic. Cinnamon. Cloves. Don't know what this means. Cardamom? Cardamom?
Some kind of thing.
Ooh, nutmeg.
That's a thing.
That's
a wintery.
The most important. Potassium.
Oh, yeah.
Sorbate.
Best thing. Wait. Are we going to die if we drink this?
No. This will give us that much potassium.
Oh, good.
Sorbate and then sulfites, which are, whatever. I don't even know what
sulfites.
Ooh, let's read this. You want to read it?
Sure. As the thundering of the wild hunt approaches, mortals make their peace. And as the hooves recede into the distance for another year, the silence brings peace and a time to appreciate the bounty of the harvest. Wild Hunt is a balanced blend of honey, cranberry, blood orange, and spice brewed in honor of ceremonial meads of 18th century Northern Europe.
Oh.
All right, let's open them up. Hear that winter? Winter crackle.
Smells delicious. got some cool little graphics on it. Some animals and a person riding a horse.
Awesome stag.
Yep, some foxes chasing something. Arrow through an stag apple stag.
Yeah, that's cool. Join the feast.
All
Wild
right.
hunt.
Just see what, it's a cool color.
It's like a
blood orange.
kind of. Does it have a little bit of pink to it? It's like a pinkish red.
Yeah,
We'll say.
I like a little bit of orange in there. I think it's like a red with some orange to lighten it up.
Okay. Yeah, it looks nice.
All right, let's see what it tastes like.
Pretty good. It's interesting. I think the spices are definitely giving it a different taste. Like it's not as sweet as a lot of the other ones, I think.
It's got a good it almost tastes kind of.
What is the cranberries? It's got a little bit of that cranberry kind of bitterness.
It's got a little bit of a kick to it too, like almost like a carbonated kick. I think that's the orange.
Maybe. Let me see.
Gives your taste buds a little bit of a tingle.
Mm-hmm. Tingle. Trust your tingle. Definitely an interesting sensation.
And my tingle is telling me this is delicious.
Awesome. Well, that's fun.
What was this one called again?
Wild Hunt.
That's a cool name.
I always hunt when I'm wild. Or is it? Let's have a wild hunt. I mean, I don't know.
They made a mead based off
the art on here looks pretty wild. Like,
well, they made a mead based off the Witcher 3.
Oh, yeah. It's called Wild Hunt, isn't it?
It is.
Nice.
All right, well.
There you go. We've tried it.
What do you say we get into magic systems?
So we all love magic,
I
right?
love magic. Magic's awesome.
And we all love systems.
They help, I guess, having a system in place.
As long as they're,
Good
not
system.
oppressive systems.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I just thought it'd be fun to talk about magic, some magic systems from stories, and just think about how they're some cool things about them, and
cool things about magic in general.
Yeah,
and different stories and stuff like that.
I would, as kind of like a guiding way of thinking about like the topic. I was looking at Brandon Sanderson has his. This is for him when he's writing, the way he tries to think about his magic systems. He made 3 rules for himself, and the first rule is his ability as a writer to use the magic system or magic in the story to solve a problem is directly proportional to the reader's understanding of it. So he, that's all about it being it being like the problem being solved in a satisfying way. Like, because if you're reading a story and magic, it's like all of a sudden magic happens and everything's okay. That's not very satisfying. It feels like,
when it's used in a way to just kind of write something off. Like,
right,
this plot point happened and I don't really know how to fix it, or
I'm in a corner.
So let me just use this crazy magic that no one really knows much about to fix that problem, which, depending on the story, can be fine.
Right.
And it can still read very well or play very well or whatever. But I like how he goes about it in the sense of how can I do it in a way that makes sense with the story and the world itself, instead of just,
Well, and people have spent enough time with it, seen and understand like what can happen, what can't happen, so that when it's used to solve a big problem, it feels really cool, because it's like maybe they did figure out something new, but the like building blocks or like the breadcrumbs of that were laid out so that whenever they do get to that point, it feels earned. It feels like they earned that moment, rather than it just being kind of breaking the immersion. And then the second law that he uses is limitations or cost of the magic is more interesting than powers.
Yes.
So like what you can do with the magic is not as interesting as what you can't do. The limitations kind of are more interesting in the story.
Which I think, I actually, oddly enough, a good example of this, I think, is the Force with dark side, light side. It is more interesting to realize what giving into the anger and being able to use, let's say, Force lightning or Force choking someone, the ramifications of
Right.
using that power actually is in the sense of the light versus dark side,
Right.
compared to
It's a kind of it's a heavy cost in a way. It's a very heavy cost in a way. It's like the idea, young Anakin is so, what's the word, naive or doe-eyed or whatever, that when he thinks about becoming a Jedi, having a laser sword, saving the world, but what you're actually signing up for is to basically I have to walk this line. If I don't walk the line of using the Force, keeping my emotions in check, keeping my ambitions in check, all these things, then I will fall off the edge and become one of the bad guys, basically.
And I think George Lucas did a pretty good job with that. Because let's think about it. Star Wars really is based pretty much solely around this magic system, which is called the Force. And so it is kind of cool to see that Anakin growing up being naive to thinking, oh yeah, I'm gonna have a laser sword, free all the slaves and save people, to then getting older and realizing that there is a two-sided thing, that you kind of have to walk this line, to eventually walking past that line, using that dark-sided power against a lot of people, including his wife, and then falling to that dark side.
Yeah.
I feel like George Lucas did a pretty good job of showing that even through the magic system. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I definitely wrote that down. That it's like the kind of it goes back to the old Darth Sidious quote. The pathway, the dark side is a pathway to many abilities. Some consider to be unnatural. So there's
deem unnatural.
You have a tragedy.
Just about to.
But it's like you can't just do Force be. I mean, even though I think Luke, there's like a Jedi version of Force choke. I think it's not as.
Are you talking about like
brutal?
Are you talking about like the scene in Episode 6 when he kind of does it to
Yeah.
I think the theory is that he wasn't actually Force choking him. He was using a mind trick to make them think that they're being Force choked.
Okay.
Which has its own ramifications,
Right.
But
and that's part of that system of walking the line of, you can do this, but you can't do that, but they could be kind of close, But like Yoda can catch Force lightning and throw it back at you. He doesn't do Force lightning. This is basically. It's just that's an example of an interesting like cost or limitation of the magic that depends on which side of good or evil you are, what you can do. I
also think it's a good way of using the magic system to further along the story.
Right.
I think once again, and obviously coming from a big Star Wars fan, but I think George Lucas did a good job of using the magic system to tell the story. To an extent, because a lot of it, the whole, pretty much all, at least the original 6 movies, revolves around this light versus dark battle in in this, between this magic system, the Force.
Right.
So
yeah, definitely. And then his third rule, which I don't know how much we'll cover this, but is going deeper instead of wider. So not necessarily when you're trying to reveal more about your magic system or go into more about the magic system, instead of adding more and more abilities and more kind of broadening it, going deeper into what's already revealed and like thinking about how. A good example of this is I think the Mistborn magic system. Like you have. In the Mistborn magic system, they ingest metals, and then somehow if you're Mistborn, then you can burn those metals inside of you, and they have different effects. And in the first book, they can do certain things, but the main character Vin, she starts to realize if she pushes a little harder in certain ways with burning certain metals, she can do things that other people can't do. They also learn, like in like the second book, they kind of learn if they can kind of combine, like they can combine metals, or there's like a way that there's like some I forget what they call them in metallurgy, if it's like related to this metal or something. An alloy.
Mm.
So if they can find other alloys of other metals, sometimes they can do other things or similar things or whatever. So slightly, not really big spoiler, but slightly spoiler, in the second book, they realize there's a metal that enhances. If you burn two metals, that metal with another metal, it enhances that ability.
That's right. I'm remembering this.
So
it's been a while since I've read Mistborn.
So it doesn't give you a new ability; it enhances an ability, which the application of that, there's a lot of different applications of that. So those are those laws, and I just wrote down some interesting, kind of on the limitation side, some interesting limitations, just to kind of think about how they play into the story. Like one that I wrote down was in Stormlight. I always thought there's a lot of magic stuff in Stormlight we could talk about.
Gosh, we can write a whole theological book on the magic system of Stormlight. My goodness.
But one of the first ones you see that's really interesting, and it's very simple, is the 10 heartbeats to summon your shard blade. So that's an example of like a really interesting limitation on. It's like you have these swords called shard blades that can basically cut anything without skipping a beat, and they cut the soul of any person that they cut. But if you have one bound to you, and you're trying to, you can dismiss it, so it can like disappear, and then you can summon it. But it takes 10 heartbeats to summon it. So if you're in a fight and the fight gets started before you've summoned your shard blade, in the story it starts counting 1, and then something's happening 2. Mm-hmm. So you have to like bide your time, try and stall as long as you can until that shard blade drops out of mist into your hand. And that's just a very, I just remember different times where that was a very interesting limitation, how that would work.
It's especially interesting too, because and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure, isn't that a limitation that the characters in the world put on themselves?
I don't think so.
Like I could have swore it was somewhere where it was just like, because I think someone asked, or maybe it was a theory I read, but it was just like, why does it take 10 heartbeats?
I think, I don't think they...
no, it had to do with Shallan, maybe?
She might have put a limitation on herself, because she has some weird things going on with her shard blades.
Yeah, it was. I remember reading something about like it was like because the people of the world believed it to be this way, that's how it reacted. And so it became so ingrained in their minds that yes, it's 10 heartbeats to summon a shard blade, that's now how it works, unless the framework can change. Because I think it does go a little bit about how the people perceive things does actually kind of, in a sense, make things react to how, kind of like with the fire. There's a short story. There's not a short story, an interlude where they're measuring flame spren, and something about how the way they're viewing them changes the way the flame spren react.
Okay.
And it's similar to that, where because they believe the people believe that it's 10 heartbeats to summon a shard blade, it's always gonna be 10 heartbeats. But if the perception can change, then technically it could be summoned right away.
Yeah, I think that's a fair possibility, because the way spren work in that world, I think they are a manifestation of like human. They're a manifestation of like human thought,
and
human emotion that has somehow become like intelligent or sapient or whatever, and so they are connected to that. Like honor. You have honor spren, and they're not where honor came from. Mm-hmm. Like honor, they came from this human idea of honor, and how all that like happened is not completely known, but I could definitely see that if people not perceived or expected, if it was their expectation that it would take this long to summon a shard blade or something like that, that would almost.
And correct me if I'm wrong again too, but isn't there a point in the story where Adeline is actually able to summon his shard blade sooner too?
Right, and that's once again like going to this like interesting way of it. It makes the storytelling more interesting when, for multiple books, you've known 10 heartbeats, 10 heartbeats, 10 heartbeats. If you don't have 10 heartbeats before the fight's over, then you're done because you're not going to get your shard blade summoned. And in a very crucial moment, a character is like, I think, and there's a special thing with that character and there's a special connection with him and his shard blade.
For sure.
But that is a big moment. Later in the books, whenever, I don't remember how many heartbeats it was, but it was less than 10.
Yeah, I want to say it was like 5 or 6, something like that.
He didn't have 10 heartbeats, and he was still able to summon his shard blade in that crucial moment.
Gosh, imagine being someone who's like in such good shape that your heartbeat is like 50, and sitting there about to be in a battle, and you're just waiting for your heart to beat 10 beats, and it's a full 10 seconds or 15 seconds. Gosh.
Right, because that's like.
Oh, I guess in that situation,
if your heart rate is high, then it's gonna drop in your hand quicker. But
someone in VTAC would get a shard blade real fast. Speaking of, I saw someone in VTAC today. I'll tell you after the podcast, but
okay.
I had a patient in VTAC today. It was kind of cool.
Is that a rhythm where you can shock them?
It is. It's actually one of the few rhythms that we shock conscious patients in. Did
you shock him?
No, he was stable.
Okay.
He was technically in the hospital, actually. We were on bed delay with another patient. He came in. This is getting way off topic, but the hospital is so short-staffed on nurses that me and my partner were like, we'll help. So we helped him get him in a room. We helped him get him on the monitor and take a 12 lead and all that. Sure enough, he was in VTAC, and then he jumped into, I think, AFib RVR with aberrancy. And then he ended up having a STEMI, and we ended up transporting him to another hospital later on to go to a cath lab because he was having a heart attack.
Oh, wow.
This guy had a lot going on. Really chill. Very, very stable. But...
yeah.
Anyway, back to that's a magic system in itself, the human body and how the heart works.
Yeah. Limitations, right?
A lot of limitations. The best magic system, I'd say, created by...
I mean, there is something magical about human body for sure. I mean, you've got literally like electrical impulses that are, it's like machine. It's like very, I don't know how to explain it. Very high functioning machinery.
Well, yeah, I mean, your whole body is run off of an electrical system.
Right.
And not only that, but like probably one of the most important parts of your body is run off its own electrical system. As in, like, your heart can technically beat without your brain because it generates its own electrical impulse. And that's how the heart was made that way. It has certain pacemaker cells to generate that impulse.
And that's why it's an amazing thing, like, that some organs can somewhat be replaced or like can be supplemented because there is a repeatable, observable function of them, that this is the role they play, and so if you can make something else play that role.
Now I'm curious if a person who can control electricity can like change the electricity in his body and affect the way it affects his heart and brain.
Well, let's say. Well, no, I mean, now I kind of want to say something about like something about like magic systems and like knowing the limitations and stuff. I've watched and I've read some stuff about David Blaine, and David Blaine has like
the real magician.
David Blaine has studied with people and read about stuff about like slowing your heart rate down, things like that, and trained himself to be able to hold his breath for way longer than science, like lots of leading scientists would say is possible without having brain damage. And it's like a weird like way of like hyperventilating yourself, like hyperoxygenating yourself, and then somehow you just like get into a state of just
for those listening,
when you do that, your heart rate slows down.
For those listening though, Please do not attempt that at
Yes,
home.
don't do that.
That is how you get shallow water blackouts and you drown.
Right, and that's one thing he's talked about is like you don't try that stuff by yourself.
Like there are ways to definitely slow your heart rate down, and because your heart, a lot about why your heart beats, and part of it is to deliver nutrients to the body, and so your body needs oxygen. One of those big nutrients and big chemicals is oxygen.
Yeah.
The less oxygen you need, your heart rate can technically slow down a little bit. That's why people with really good cardiac health who have very strong beats and can pump a lot of blood in a single beat have slower heart rates because their body is not as starved for oxygen. Your heart races. That's why when you go underwater and you're holding your breath, your heart gets faster because your heart needs more oxygen. So the heart's like, oh, let me beat faster to try and get more oxygen to the body. So technically, yes, if you hyperventilate and over-oxygenate yourself, your heart rate can slow down, and your body, believe it or not, does a really good job of maintaining oxygen. And a good example of this is people who, and we're gonna get a little bit medical. Sorry for those who don't care. So when we intubate someone, there is a period of time because a lot of times when people are being intubated, they have to be induced. Basically, you sedate them. So you give them medication, and some of those medications, depending on the situation, can cause these people to stop breathing. So we technically, we call it taking their airway. We are taking this person's airway from them because they can't breathe themselves. There's a reason it's done. But what we actually do is we have to pre-oxygenate them. So we will sit them while we're waiting for the medication to work. We will bag them with a BVM to pre-oxygenate them, give them a lot of oxygen because there's can be a period of time between. Usually we like it to be less than possible. It could be anywhere from like 15 to even closer to like 45 seconds to a minute where this person has got no oxygen, no breathing at all. But their oxygen saturation can still be up at 100%. And there's even a thing called passive oxygenation where we allow oxygen to just sit on their face while we're intubating them. They're like a nasal cannula, and their body is still taking in that oxygen even though they're not breathing. Yeah. So your body does a really good job of this. Sorry for kind of going off on that little...
No.
We're just talking about the craziest magic system of all, which is the human body.
Right.
And limitations.
Yeah, there you go. It's pretty cool. So to stay sort of it's like segue to stay sort of in not the magic system of human body, but I put some sci-fi stuff on here because not just like magic systems, but just like systems in general that are interesting, that are explored in some movies. Two really cool movies by the same director there's Inception and Interstellar, and both of those movies play with the idea of time as a storytelling device and the limits of time, and whether you can stretch those limits and lower those limits. And Inception is a movie about somehow people can have some device that can help let them go into other people's dreams and plant information or extract information. And so it's basically a heist film, but one thing that they are used to their advantage is that in your dream the outside world, like, not a lot of time may pass, but in your dream it's almost like time is stretched out so that a little bit of time a lot of things can happen in. And so they like math it up and explain exactly like how much more time you have in a dream versus reality, or just when you're awake. And they go deeper into people's dreams, so dream within a dream within a dream. So then in that third layer of the dream, they have, way more time. So there's like a scene in the movie where there's a van that someone's sleeping in, and the van is like going off the side of a bridge, and all this stuff is happening on the third layer of the dream, but it keeps cutting back to the van, and it's like slowly falling, and they're still like in it and stuff because they have all this time because they've gone so many layers down in this person's dreams. So that's an interesting one. And then in Interstellar,
which I never saw. So
you haven't seen that? Okay, so really interesting thing in Interstellar. They are the concept of the movie is they're trying to, their Earth is like dying for whatever reason, and there's this kind of secret mission because if the public knew that they were like putting a lot of money into NASA whenever the world is starving, that there would be like riots and stuff. So it's like NASA's still trying to figure out how to save the human race, but they might have to get the human race off the planet. So they're looking for like habitable planets. Somehow conveniently, there's like a wormhole that's shown up
That's convenient.
out near Saturn. It's a great movie.
I've heard it's good.
But when they go through the wormhole, there's this system of possible habitable planets there, but they're all orbiting, not orbiting, but they're in range of. There's this massive black hole, and one of the planets they're going to see if it's habitable passes into the. This gets into like relativity, that gravity has an effect on time. So when there's like increased gravity, it actually can stretch or shrink time. So
my brain's starting to hurt.
Okay, so what they realize is that when they're in the gravity well of the black hole, because of the orbit of this planet, the way this planet's orbiting so close to the black hole, that 1 hour on that planet is 7 years.
Holy cow.
In real life. So they go down, they're like, okay, we got to go down, find out, because they're trying to find out if they're looking for, there's like a distress signal there that from one of the other people that have landed like years ago, and they're like, okay, let's see if we can find them, get the data from their exploration of this planet, and then let's get off, because our time is like oxygen, we've only got a limited supply. Yeah. Because they're like, if we go down there and we get stuck down there for 2 minutes too long, for like multiple hours, by the time we get off, everyone on Earth might be dead.
Yeah.
So, like, this is like a really interesting limitation that they have because of time. And I won't say exactly what happens on that planet, but
time is such an interesting thing to mess around as far as like a magic system goes too, because I don't know, it's mind bending. There's a lot of the different things that it can be done with time and implications that are come along with it, like this 1 hour equals 7 years. The implications that come with that, on top of just anything with space, like black holes. Black holes are terrifying,
right?
And just like all these different things, and it's wild. It's wild to think about even things that are like relatively possible, let's say.
Right.
Because like, I mean, I love myself some fantasy, but like throwing fires out my hand probably ain't the most realistic thing in the world, as much as I want it to be.
Right.
But like stuff that comes as far as like time and like black holes and stuff like that, I mean, technically is feasible to an extent,
Right. Well, there's the math is there.
The math is there. It's technically possible. How feasible it is or I guess I should say it's feasible, but how possible it is untested and probably shouldn't be tested. That's right. I feel like that's playing around with too many things we don't need to be playing around with.
I can't even imagine someone testing that.
But I mean, that's even like coming down to like different dimensions and stuff like that too. Like,
right.
I've gone down some like deep dark holes of like the 10th dimension and how and things like that. To an extent, like as a Christian, thinking of dimensions isn't necessarily like I don't think it goes against Christianity, because I do think that I mean, technically God lives in a different dimension. God lives outside of time.
Yeah. Which that's something that Interstellar, that movie, made me think completely different. Like, really broadened my idea of thinking about God being outside of time and what the implications of that could be. And I have to be careful even how I think about it, because it's just almost hard to even understand. But it's like, if you're outside of time, then time for you, like all of time, is the present to you. So like you're in every moment of time in a sense. You could, because you're outside of it, as if it was like a physical thing or a landscape, you could step down into this moment, step down into this moment, step down this moment. So it's like almost, it kind of, I don't know, it kind of gets into the idea of like how God says, I am who I am, who was, is, and is to come, like things like that, where it's like in God's mind, everything is kind of already laid out, and it's like as if it's already been completed, even though time is still unfolding.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're outside of time, then every moment is laid out in front of you,
Yeah.
like you're looking at it, like so it's almost like it's all complete in a sense. But and yet, I think that that's not exactly the way it works. Like I don't think that's exactly how God is involved in that like very scientific.
Yeah, I mean,
heavy
I
way,
definitely think that's something that like we're probably ain't gonna know until
right,
we get there.
and then our minds will be blown.
And it's also one of those things where it's just like thinking about it now hurts my brain, so I try not to.
Right. Yeah,
that's one of those things
the
where it's
same
like not super.
Like I can't understand that.
It's not
like,
super important, so I'm not gonna worry about it as much.
Yeah.
It's definitely an interesting thing. Eternity in itself is an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah.
But that's another conversation for another time. But another interesting like limitation to magic that I find pretty interesting. Wheel of Time does it a little bit. I think Aragon did it a little bit too. But the thought or the realization that using magic has an effect on the user, where when you use said magic system, it takes away from you, and so you can only do as much of magic as your body is able to handle.
Right. So there's like a cost to
So
it.
there is a cost to it, and if that cost becomes too heavy, if you use I think Aragon does it a lot, where they say a lot like if you use a spell that is beyond you, it will kill you, and so they talk very heavily about training that ability. I think Wheel of Time does a little bit too. They just do a little bit differently because some people are just a lot stronger than others, and like the Dragon Reborn is like doing crazy crap. That
That's the crazy. Yeah, that's a crazy thing about the Wheel of Time magic system, because there's a male end of the side of the power and the female side of the power. The male side is corrupted, and so if a man draws on the one power, it eventually starts to make them go mad because it's been corrupted. So there's like a really heavy cost for male magic users in that world.
But I've always just kind of found that like an interesting limitation,
Yeah.
and one that can even be explained without going too in depth in the magic system.
Right. Yeah, it's like just
it allows
some of those are the most like, and that's where like going deeper into your magic system is, I think, sometimes more interesting, because you can just take a very simple premise and just like the implications of it can be so deep. Like that one, how it works in the world and everything.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed that aspect of it.
That also makes me think of, I just read in Hero of Ages, there's a character that that shows up that is kind of somewhat underwhelming character in the first two books, and he just showed up again, and because of the events of like the second book, he has been burning the metal that he can burn, because he's not a Mistborn. Mistborns can burn any of the metals and use the abilities. There's Mistings, which they just have one metal that they're able to burn and use the abilities, and his is the metal that enhances his senses. And so he's been burning this metal like nonstop for like months and months and months and months and months and months, to the point, and flaring it to the point that it's changed him, that he even when he's not burning the metal very much, his senses are still crazy heightened.
Yep.
Like it's changed him permanently.
Where like he wears a blindfold, if I'm correct.
Yeah,
in a lot of it, because everything is at that point, everything's so bright.
Everything is extremely bright, and
I remember. I'm remembering this character now, and I just want you to finish the book. You need to finish the book. That the like 14 different magic systems in Mistborn, I'm over exaggerating, but there's like a lot, are all super interesting. It's crazy how they all work together. Like they're all very similar and all used in very similar ways, but also are different in their own.
Well, it's because because of the way Brandon makes the magic systems a byproduct of the godlike figures that have taken up certain shards of power. Like we talked in an episode earlier about the shards and shard holders and stuff. There's like a byproduct of them having the power, and because there's these couple different characters that have these abilities, or not have these abilities, have created these magic systems. There's like a third magic system that's like it's like some convergence between the two that was like it wasn't an intentional magic system, but it just happened because there's these, it's like, and it's some kind of scientific principle that, like, that's one thing Brandon Sanderson, he kind of uses scientific principles when he thinks about his magic systems. And
yeah, he's definitely, his magic systems are.
Yeah.
One reason I like his magic systems a lot, and it's one, his books have really made me like world building. It really made me get more invested in reading the books for world building as well. Mm-hmm. Like my wife talking about Skyward and saying that like it was a little boring, and it's probably because the beginning was a little slow, and it's probably because it had a lot to do with world building.
Right.
That made me excited to read it because I'm all about world building recently. Dune is a good example. I loved the book Dune because there's a lot of world building in it. And character building, which I've also become to enjoy. But I like that Brandon uses his magic system as a character almost.
Right.
I mean, and I think it's just such a cool. And instead of just having this magic system there just to make it cool or make it fancy or whatever, it's like it's actually a character that's used, in a really cool and interesting way every time, including how the magic even comes from. I mean, the magic basically comes from characters, to an extent in the story. I don't know.
Here's one I wrote down.
I hope it's the one that I read a minute ago, or a couple minutes ago.
So in Hook.
Yes.
Have you
read it and chuckled.
Have you seen that movie?
I have not seen that movie.
Okay, I know Peter Pan. I could do a whole episode on Hook.
Do I have to watch? Am I going to have to watch it now?
You're gonna have to watch that movie.
Okay.
And if you watch it and you're like, this is really cheesy, this is dumb, then that's okay, because I will enjoy defending it, and because
I'm so excited to watch it.
It's a movie I saw as a kid, so it has some nostalgia to it, but it means more to me even as an adult, because the whole premise of the movie Hook is Robin Williams is Peter Pan who grew up.
I have seen part of this movie.
Okay.
Now that you say Robin Williams, I remember, because I'm thinking of the other Hook movie that came out recently.
Okay. Yeah, there's been a lot of versions of Peter Pan and Hook, and
yeah, I do know the one you're talking about. I haven't watched all of it, and I don't remember any of it, but I do know I've seen parts of it.
So the premise is, Peter Pan, at some point, Wendy grew up, got married. She had a granddaughter, and Peter Pan had like a love at first sight thing. Saw her granddaughter and decided he wanted to come back from Neverland, not go back. He got married. He had kids. He basically blocked out that he was ever Peter Pan. So he doesn't even remember. He remembers he thinks he was an orphan, and that Wendy to him was like a grandmother, because she took in orphans, and because of her experience with the Lost Boys, so she is, they call her Granny Wendy, and she. He's become like a workaholic. He's really have a good connection with his kids, and when they go to visit Wendy at the house that she grew up at, Hook somehow gets wind of it, and has this vendetta against Peter Pan. He kidnaps his kids.
Oh boy!
And so here's the limitation on this magic system is that. You have to have faith, trust, and pixie dust.
I read that this morning, and I read it like 20 minutes ago, and just every time I just get a little chuckle.
So it's a very whimsical, the cartoon and everything is very whimsical. Faith, trust, and pixie dust. It's kind of a throwaway thing that you get some pixie dust sprinkled on you. You think of a happy thought, and you believe, and you can fly. You can fly. You can fly. You can fly. But this that limitation on it takes on a whole different meaning when you've blocked out that you were ever Peter Pan. Like the magic system, that rule is so hard with this magic system that Peter flippin' Pan, because he can't remember he was Peter Pan, he can't believe in that he can fly, and so he can't do what he needs to do. So that's the whole thing, is he has to remember that he was Peter Pan, what it was like to be Peter Pan, so that he can save his kids from Captain Hook, because he has to go to Neverland to do it. And it's an awesome movie. It's just great.
I'll have to watch it. Steph and I'll have to watch it.
And then he's a dad, and he's fighting for his kids, so that gives that, got that that aspect of it that means more to me than it did when I was growing up. And his son is named Jack.
Nice. Is that where you named your son after?
No, but afterwards I was like, oh yes, this is perfect because I love this movie. I actually watched it with the kids this Christmas, but yeah, so that's a cool limitation example.
The limitation of belief is an interesting one to me.
It's one of those things. It's almost like it's a very intangible thing. Belief, that like we'll just believe. It's like, well, how? Like, how do you just believe? So what if we were gonna think? I'm just gonna put us on the spot.
All right,
we're probably gonna fall flat on our faces.
Might as well.
What would be an interesting limitation? Like, let's just start with a limitation on a magic system. Like, not even like what the magic system can do, but like a magic system that has a particular limitation. It could be weird, it could be funny, it could be heavy.
This is one that I've kind of thought of recently, and I won't go into why I've thought of it recently. For spoilers for possibly my future life. But because I mentioned earlier, I like that limitation of how the magic system affects yourself. I think it's an interesting thing to go after, to have a magic system that affects something or someone else, whether it is the world that you are on or whether it is another person in general, especially when the characters don't know that limitation, and have to learn it the hard way. I feel like I feel like that could be a really good story, a good way to use magic in a story.
It's kind of like, I mean, Aragon kind of has that, I think. Isn't there a when he uses the magic system early on, doesn't he, like, doesn't it draw from things around you?
You can use it to draw things from around you. You're right. It's either from yourself. That's right. That's where Aragon, his magic system is. You can either the best way to use the magic system in that world is to draw the magic from something else, I'm pretty sure. Or basically the power that you use has to be drawn from something. If it can't find anything to draw from, it will draw it from yourself.
Yeah, and if it draws it from yourself, and it's like you decide to do something too crazy, then you will die.
Which I think is a plot point with the dragons, because the dragons have so much more magical ability. They can draw from their dragon to use certain magic. I think this has been a while since I've read those books.
I mean, that seems logical. It definitely seems logical.
It seems a long time. It's been a long time since I've read those books. So I don't know for certain, but like that. But also to an even more extent, I like the thought of like. And there's 20 more ideas, but like almost like gods, little g gods that have a power that are being siphoned in a sense for the magic system in the world that maybe the people nowadays don't realize is happening.
There's a planet or a world where there's like, are they maybe like benevolent?
Maybe, yeah.
And then using the magic system is actually like siphoning off of them or something.
To the ultimate detriment, possibly, or something like that. I don't know. Something along those lines, maybe. That's just my first spitball idea when you put me on the spot like that. But it's just something, because that's just something I've been toying around in my head about as far as storytelling, not just necessarily the magic system, but also storytelling wise.
What if and this isn't like 100% original. I think I read this in the Orson Scott Card, the author of Ender's Game, wrote a book, how to write science fiction and fantasy. Literally what it's called. And I think he gave an example for a cost of a magic system that you lose a memory every time you use it. So like, what if you had to like choose a memory to forget? Like, you had to consciously burn a memory in a sense. Instead of like burning metal, you consciously have to bring a memory to your mind and then burn it in order to use the magic system.
Oh man, the implications of that are wow.
Like, if you're trying to do something in the story, or trying to like be like, you're the good guy, right? But then how much to use the magic how much does the memories you're burning affect like who you are, to the point that, you know, like you could become by the end a different person, a different character, almost maybe even like more to toward like the end,
Hmm.
because your experiences, your memories like have such a big impact on
Oh,
and
absolutely.
why you do things. And
That's interesting. Huh. Now I get my brain all working. Now I don't want to say anything for to think.
then like that, obviously, like you have to like really those kinds of systems, that kind of like a cost, you really have to like outline it out really well,
Yeah, that would be something
because
that, yeah,
you have to really make it,
be concise
yeah,
with
and make
what.
it like think with intentionality of like
Mm-hmm.
every single memory that they burn, how it's going to affect them and that sort of thing.
And even time is always, like we were talking about earlier. Time is always an interesting thing too.
The limitation on lift is a really funny one, a really fun, kind of fun and funny one. Um, like her, this character in the Stormlight, she she can burn, basically like use food, metabolize food into magic, and so she's like hungry all the time because she's every time she uses her magic, she's burning through her food, and so she's like constantly trying eating and stealing people's food and their breakfast and stuff.
Lived is such a great character.
But I think that's a
Um,
funny limitation too. I'm trying to think of like a funny or interesting one, like the one that wouldn't be as
as
like
deep.
heavy, but it would
Yeah.
be like
I'm still thinking on the memory loss thing. Like, what if you had someone who had a photographic memory, and then they have such control over their memories and what they know that they get to choose and can really sparse through what it is that
they
they
would be
decide to
like
get
the
rid
best.
of.
Maybe they would be like some of the best.
Best magicians we'll go with, or power users.
What if somebody who had that magic system was so astute in their memories that they actually used the magic system to change themselves? Like, what if they intentionally were like, I need to become what I to accomplish this, I have to become like, instead of it being like, oh no, they're changing and they don't realize it. What if it was like intentional and they're like, I have to become a harder person in order to
Hmm.
like get through this. So I'm gonna get rid of these memories. I'm gonna use it to burn these memories to make myself like the right person or whatever.
I wonder too, and this might be like a cop out in a way, but like, what if? Wait, what if there's a way to even write down,
Oh, to like,
almost be like a
oh, that's kind of like saves
almost like
it.
have like a library of your own mind,
That's
and then being
yeah.
able to go back and figure it. It's kind of like Cezed or
Where it's almost
Cesar,
like you're
whatever.
dumping it, you're dumping them off. That'd be a good implication that you would have to like account for.
Mm-hmm.
Is like, can you offload the memory by like writing it down or somehow recording it,
But
and
then
then
also the implications behind that of now reading a memory that you had once, but are now having to read it.
right, like
Like what does it,
contextualize
what
it
exactly does
and
that do to you? Because you can read that memory, but it's not going to have the same impact on you as when you
right,
went through the
right,
experience.
experiencing it. Yeah, you're not. It's not gonna like jog. Like you'd read it, but it wouldn't like jog anything because the memory's gone. It would just be like, oh, I broke my arm when I was 3.
Which is kind of like the implication, and I was thinking about this with the Spider-Man No Way Home spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen it or whatever. At the end, when everybody forgets who Peter Parker is,
Mm-hmm.
and he says, "I'm going to go talk MJ. I'm going to find you. I'm going to tell you everything."
Mm-hmm.
He could go tell her everything, but it's not going to have the same impact
Right.
of when she lived it. So he may tell her everything, but she'll just be like, "Cool, that sounds interesting, but I
Yeah.
don't know you."
Right.
You know?
I think he knows that too. Like, I think that's
Yeah.
kind of why he pulled back at the end.
Yeah. But the implications behind that too.
Right. Yeah. Be an interesting, maybe an interesting. You can see how like that kind of thing, when you start designing that kind of thing, it almost like starts to spin up its own story, because we've described different ways, different things that would happen, almost like different characters. Like, I could imagine a character who is trying to change themselves, and so they use the magic system to change themselves. I could see a character who doesn't want to change themselves, but they end up tragically kind of changing. You know, I could see a character who is trying to keep it all together. You
I
know,
just thought of such an interesting thing too.
what?
What if you told multiple stories in this world to find out at the end or near the end or at one point that every story has a different character. Every story is the main character is a different character, but it's in the same world. Different things are happening in this world, and it follows a sort of concise storyline, but it's different characters and anything like that. But then you come to find out by the end that those different characters are actually all the same character. He slash she just changed because of the memories that he had to get rid of for the magic.
So are they taking? So are you reading? You're reading from different points in the story, basically.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to figure out how maybe it could be a concise story. Maybe at first it doesn't seem like it's concise, but then as you start nearing the end, whether it's like short stories or whatever, you start something happens. Obviously don't have that figured out, but like something happens to you. Find out that every character that you've gone through and every person, whatever, is actually the same person, but because of circumstances, they used the magic and they had to get rid of memories, and it changed who they are to where they became a different character.
Right. Well, okay. So here's the thing. There's a movie called Memento by the same guy who made Interstellar and Inception, and it's about a guy who his wife was attacked. Him and his wife were attacked in bed, and he had like a big blow to the head in the struggle, and he has short-term memory loss. So he can remember everything before that night, but he can't remember anything more than like 5 minutes. So his wife was like killed, probably raped. So he's out to find the guy who did it. He's like has this, vendetta, and yet he can't remember anything. So the movie actually starts. You realize pretty quickly it starts at the end, and it goes back 5 minutes, the entire movie. So like the last 5 minutes play, and then it goes back to 5 minutes before that, and that 5 minutes plays. So like throughout the entire movie, you're seeing how in 5 minute increments how these connect, and it like starts to blow your mind because people mess with him, because people he's like writing notes to himself. He has these tattoos all over his body so that he can constantly remind himself of what happened and where he left off and all this stuff, who he can trust. He takes pictures of people and writes on the back things about them so he can remember, so he can pull it out, pull the picture, look at the picture. Okay, that guy is helping me. But people start to figure that out and they start messing with him. So like if you were in this world and you were trying to keep everything together, you could get manipulated. Because if somebody who maybe didn't use the magic system knows, oh, this guy, he's one of those magic users that use this weird magic system, and he's got all these notes, and if you could somehow mess with his notes, you could almost convince him that, oh yeah, you're looking for this guy, and he's actually like looking for himself, and he doesn't realize it because someone like changed something in the notes to make it, like this is the person I'm looking for, and then like with the details, and it's like he can't remember that those details describe him or whatever.
Here's a question though. We've said this limitation, right?
Right.
What magic would work with the limitation?
Like what would actually do?
Yeah, like what would the magic actually do? Because we had the limitation,
right?
But what magic actually fits with that said limitation? Because you can't just have him throwing a fireball and lose memory.
Something that feels like like something that would make sense for like maybe you could mess with someone else's memories.
Maybe.
Like so, the cost is like a memory for a memory, or
maybe it's almost like a changing of events. Event occurs, so you change that event, but that because that event occurred, you had to get rid of another memory. Possibly, but like a small event, like it can't be like you change a whole year. It's like an event that maybe like just occurred or whatever.
You'd have to limit it if it was that kind of thing. It'd have to be like very few people have that magic system, right? Or then it would be like I think so. You'd be changing too many events. Like you'd be able to change too many events.
Or maybe there's even limitations to the extent of like you can only affect events that directly
you're
coincide
involved
with
in
you
or something. Yeah.
Like you couldn't change like the 2016 election,
Right.
you know, if you weren't involved in it. But you know,
Maybe
only to find out that you weren't changing anything. You were just getting rid of those memories.
you could change. I mean, you could do like it could be memory for a memory, and that would effectively like let's say you were in the room with three people and something happened, and you're like, I want to rewrite that event. So you rewrite the memory of that event for those three people. So then it costs you three memories. You know, in a sense. So in a sense, you are rewriting the event. You're not rewriting the reality of the event, but in effect you are because you're changing their memories of it. You're flashy thinging them for Men in Black. Did you see Men in Black? Have you seen Men in Black?
Of course I've seen Men in Black.
Where they like they flash the people that saw the aliens and then they tell them this is what you actually saw, and then so like it doesn't actually change anything. It's just the people that witnessed it, for them it changes because they don't remember it.
Possible.
You could have a character. What if the character, or even the characters that use, that could be a thing in the world, like the characters that use that magic system, maybe they have someone that is like a memory holder for them. That basically like that person remembers what actually happens. So they can keep track of everything. They can tell that person everything. Maybe they log it, or maybe they don't. Maybe those people have like really good memories, so that they like photographic memories, so that it's not actually written down. Because if you change an event and then you write down that you change it, then there's a trail back to, you know, finding out what actually happened. But if you have someone that's like they're sworn to only be like tell you the actual like what's actually happening. But then that's where you could get in with a big twist, where you could have that person for one of those characters could be actually like manipulating everything. They could be like the big bad. Oh, what if and then like the big bad? What if like the character, he's like looking for this big villain, and it's actually his like memory holder, but the memory holder is manipulating the information so that to keep him off of his trail or something like that. Oh, that'd be a big twist.
I'm realizing something.
What?
I can't say it because it just would spoil a lot of something for you, so.
Oh.
Sorry, I shouldn't have even said anything. It has to do with information and changing information.
Well, I mean, I already know in Mistborn that happens. Because that's the whole thing about writing in steel. So I don't know if that was a second book thing. Book 2 thing.
I'm thinking of something that specifically happens in book 3.
Okay. Well, that's fine.
I'm pretty sure. I don't know, it's been a while. Anyway, I don't know. Gosh, that would be hard to write though because there's so many different the limitations there, but the magic system itself would be very difficult. And there's even limitations that you're putting on yourself within the magic system now because of the limitation you set.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it'd be a hard story to do, to pull off really well, you know, in a very satisfying way, and you know, because like you have to be careful with like frustrating the reader and stuff like that. But I just think of like it would be a very interesting hook to like start a story where the character kind of reveals that they don't remember. Their memories are they're wiping their own memories or something like that.
You know, what would be a fun way to do it though. Tell it through different characters, like through different people in the world. Tell the story through them, through memories.
Like someone's interviewing them.
Yeah, well, like
Killer Chronicles.
Yeah, either that or like, have you ever seen How I Met Your Mother?
I mean, you met my mother through.
Have you ever seen that show? I'm gonna stab you. But you know how he tells us. Do you know the show at all?
I've not seen it.
Well, he's telling the story to his kids. So he's telling basically the show.
That's the whole show.
He's telling the kids how he met his mother.
Their mother. Sorry.
Yeah. But he's doing it through like memory. He's doing it through memories, and it's a funny show. And Steph's watching it, so it's on my mind. Yeah. But like, so you have maybe something along the lines of you have these people who are telling a story, but then as the story is being told and it's being told from the perspective of these characters, you start realizing that things aren't adding up. things are either different between the characters, or even the character is remembering something that different from previously, only to find out that there is another person that is manipulating everyone else in the story
Okay.
to fit a certain narrative, and then they have to find a way to kind of counteract that and get back to the truth of what the matter is.
That's weird.
That could be an interesting concept of how to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's even dealing with people who, like, the main characters aren't magic users, but you have someone who is this magic user, who is affecting the memories of these people.
An easy way to do it, or like an easier way to do it, it'd be great if you could do like a full like novel. Someone could do like a full like novel doing it that way. But I think the shorter it is, the easier it is to pull off, because you could just do like pick a kind of pivotal part of the story to do it and really have it all twisted up and have it kind of unravel really quickly and
there's definitely a way to do this as a tragedy.
Yeah.
I'm thinking back to like and just doing it short story wise, so multiple short stories of different characters, each with their own story. Each with their story that may or may not end either good or bad. Let's say, to find out that those characters are all the same person, and working somewhere in there a tragedy as to like why it is.
Because if you started that person like out near the beginning of the story, you know, they would have all their memories, you know. So if you started them out with like why they went on the mission in the first place, versus at the end of the story, that could all be so jumbled up that they would almost be like a different character, you know.
It's definitely it's just an interesting concept to think of how our memories actually affect who we are as a person. I mean, like a thing that
interpreting our own memories.
Well, like a thing that got brought up in my mind was something we were talking about in school a couple months ago, because we were talking about the brain and the nervous system and how kind of our thoughts and how we perceive things really affects. I mean, it really determines, like, that's kind of who we are. And an example that they gave was a guy who had I think a motor vehicle accident or something like that. Some issue where something actually either pierced or hit or did something to the memory center of his brain, as well as a couple other things. And it literally affected him to where he became a completely different person after the injury. And so he was literally like, it was like some, like the examples of like, he always showed up to work on time. He was always very nice. And that Robert now, he's like, he shows up late all the time. He's very grumpy and his you know, different things like that. So it's just interesting. It made me think about like the how much your memories, and stuff like that affect who you are. And it's just like if you had different memories, would you be a different person?
Yeah.
Let's say you had happier memories. Would you be a happier person? Or let's say you had super depressing memories. Would you be a more depressing person?
Right.
Or whatever.
You could have people who, a lot of it's how you could have the same memories, but what's your outlook on
how you perceive those
because
memories.
Like you can have people who all went through the same event, but what they took away from that event and how it impacts their life can be completely different, you know. Someone could feel more hopeful from that event, and someone could feel you know, like completely hopeless as a result of that event, based off of your outlook, you know. So crazy. Kind of want to try it, but
I also kind of want to try it.
Sounds really scary.
Collab.
Heck yeah. That'd be interesting.
We could do it.
Good.
It might not be good, but we could do it. It'd probably be horrible.
Do it. Journey before destination.
That's what I'm saying. Life before death, strength before weakness.
I mean, to be honest, I am looking for like a project once I get the draft I'm working on ready to give to people to like beta read. My plan is to give them a big chunk of time to give feedback, and for me to not even like really work on the story at all, except for just interacting with that a little bit, the feedback a little bit. And during that time to start a new project, like something different, something that's not like the sequel or, whatever. So, could be fun.
I'm always down for a collab. We're eventually gonna have to do a collab, but
Definitely.
like as a comic book or something, graphic novel.
Could turn into one.
Trying to figure out how we would do that.
Yeah.
I don't know if this story would fit very well as a graphic novel. I
Right.
think this one would have to be like a short story or a book.
Yeah. Probably right.
But just saying,
Yeah.
I still think we could do it. So be on the lookout for our new book. No.
If you're listening, don't steal our idea. Trademark the idea. That's how it works. You say it.
Yep, we've trademarked it. Don't do it or we'll sue you.
Yeah. We'll make you forget your memories.
It's definitely not. I will say this is not how I expected the magic system conversation to turn, but I'm appreciating it.
Yeah.
It's got a little bit more deep.
Magic is deep, man.
I also just love fireballs, though.
Fireball. Yeah. I mean, there should still be fireballs in the story.
It's gonna have to be a fantasy.
You
right?
could have other magic systems, but it wouldn't focus on them as much.
It's a fun magic system that's like more doesn't have as much of a limitation to an extent. The Last Airbender.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like it does because
soft.
everyone's kind of forced into a specific
Right.
type of
You
bending.
have if you're an airbender,
You're an
can't
airbender.
do.
But it's also
Fire.
soft in the sense of like we don't really know what the limitations are in between for the benders themselves.
Right.
But it's a fun one, It's just a cool.
Which, I mean, that's one of the rules too. Is like air. I think that's like he called it a zeroth law, 0th law, which is like kind of overarching over all of this, like err on the side of awesome.
Yes.
Which is like what you gotta remember in Magic. It still needs to be awesome because it's Magic.
Yeah, it's gotta be awesome.
So if it all isn't, it makes sense and all this other stuff, but it's not awesome, then why have Magic? So
exactly, you don't want it to be boring. You want it to be awesome. And there's some good
just like
examples.
Lift.
Some good examples of books that don't have the most in-depth Magic system, but it's still awesome.
Right.
I can't think of one right this minute.
Well,
but...
I mean, like Lord of the Rings. I mean,
Good
like
example.
Gandalf. Like, what can Gandalf do? Gandalf. What are his limitations? There's definitely some, but like,
What? Yeah.
he can kill a Balrog. So like, that's the element of going, not to go like back into it too deeply, but that's the element of magic systems that you can. That's the element of magic that you can do is to kind of use it to feel like a feeling of awe, because it's like, whoa, you see something that like you didn't really realize could be done. It kind of makes it feel like there's a lot of mystery and things you don't really know and understand. It makes the world feel bigger. Like when Gandalf says that he has not been tested against all the powers of this world. Like, he doesn't even know his limits.
Yeah.
That gives you a feeling of awe of like, well, Gandalf doesn't even know his limits. Let's see what they are, And then he fights a Balrog. Got my Lord of the Rings reference in there.
Finally got it. There's even a little bit of that with a little bit of like not knowing the limitations when it comes to like the Force in Star Wars.
Right.
Because there's a limitation of dark and light.
Right.
And where you kind of know where those boundaries are set, but when it comes to the actual Force, we don't really know the limitations. And even in canon, there are things in canon, well, maybe not canon anymore, but like old canon that are like, what happened? How did this even? I didn't know people could be this strong, but also it was awesome. So who cares?
Right. It's like, whoa, that's crazy. The Force is crazy. I mean, and they kind of use it. Really, they kind of use the awesomeness to show you the character, like understand like this character is really powerful. Darth Vader is really powerful. And like in the Force Unleashed, when Darth Vader like pulls a
Darth Vader does not
Star
do that. He does not do that.
He didn't do that?
No, Starkiller does.
Oh.
If you took Starkiller as canon in Star Wars, he is probably the strongest Force user we know.
Right. So
because it's a video game and they had to make it epic because.
But like the point of that is not to say like it's not really a big statement on the limitations as much as a statement on look at how much power he has. Have you ever seen anyone do that? So like he's really powerful, you know. Yeah.
Magic school, guys.
Do magic.
Go do magic. Go do magic.
I'll leave it there.
All right. Well, this
has been a Bridge of Two.
Bridge of Two. Far, far away bridge.
Say yes to magic.
Say yes to magic. New T-shirt right there.
I think that's gonna be the name of the episode, probably.
I think we need to make a T-shirt now.
So say yes to magic,
and under his Bridge of Two.
All right, you heard.
I'm writing down the idea. I'm gonna make a T-shirt for myself.
I've been thinking that I want to do just so that I can wear something that has Bridge of Two on it.
Me too.
Not even so that like we can make money. Just
so that we have something. We're gonna do it. I'm calling it. You say yes to magic, Bridge of Two. Everyone say yes to magic.